You're watching the Brotherhood of Gaming video game show, the only video game review show that knows that making a deal with the devil does not make for great power and responsibility. I'm your host, William Morris.
And I'm Eugene Morris.
Now, usually we're always rocking the world's finest Superman Batman thing with the Justice League colors, but given the state of the situation, I think we better change things up.
Time to go Marvel?
Time to go Marvel. Hey, nice.
Very good.
Who hasn't heard of the Blue Web Slinger? His reputation is of course on par with the greatest superheroes of all time. And of course, like them, he started back in the days of comic books, and over time went to progress onto other forms of media, like his super popular television cartoon show, and his multi-million-dollar movies.
And, as of course we all know, the realm of video games.
That's why JJ pays me the big bucks.
There has been a plethora of Spider-Man video games that are just too many to count. Probably due to the fact that a Spider-Man game concept isn't too hard of an idea to get wrong when you think about it. Yet somehow, sometimes they do. Let's not forget there's also been some real hits like Maximum Carnage, Spider-Man on the PlayStation, and the very well-received Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 2.
Many years later, Spider-Man today is still a legend, taking the spotlight once again with his brand new reboot movies, Amazing Spider-Man 1 and Amazing Spider-Man 2 starring Andrew Garfield.
And of course, Activision continue to make the video game tie-ins based on these movies. And now, we will review the latest one. This is the Amazing Spider-Man 2 video game.
It's not the power you should be concerned about. It's the responsibility it gave me.
Alright, now guys, understand going in that we did not play the first Amazing Spider-Man video game. Hell, only one of us actually saw the film it was based on.
So if there are common elements that we address that are present here that were also in the first, well, we just didn't know. We went into this game completely blind and unfamiliar to its set goals.
As you start the game, you soon learn that it feels very distant from the movies it's based on. In fact, the storyline, it's not even clear if it takes place during, before, or after the events of The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It kind of treats the audience like it's an alternative reality, with one of those looks of the characters and a vague hint of the previous storyline.
We can't say we're entirely against that, since it's well known that most movie-based games usually suck the big one. So taking liberties and telling their own story actually does get some good feedback. Heck, Spider-Man 2 did the same thing, and look how well that turned out.
You begin the game as Peter Parker, who looks absolutely nothing like Andrew Garfield, and is now voiced by Sam Riegel.
Alright guys, understand that we do not dislike Sam Riegel.
I do,
Okay, Gene does.
because I'm vindictive like that.
But the deal is, he's one of those recycled, bland voice actors who rarely portray emotion, and unfortunately is very common in the Tales series. Now, when he does do a role well, he can at least give a believable performance. But then there are times when scenes call for some intense emotion or behavior, and we just don't see it.
Not to mention he totally botched our favorite Tales hero.
Personal issues aside,
And of course, Peter's still lamenting over Uncle Ben. Ugh. I mean, come on, who dwells on the past like that? My parents are dead. Get over it.
No Batman out there, Doc. That's just ridiculous.
And he limits it to... Oh, you gotta be kidding.
There you are. I was starting to think you'd forgotten about me.
just couldn't resist, could you, Stan?
You know how sensitive I am.
Through the story of the game, you'll get introduced to familiar characters, new villains, and new plot twists that were surprisingly well done. The story is interesting and does well to grab your attention to see how things play out. Knowing how unfamiliar these new faces are to Spider-Man, waiting to see how the situation unfolds itself keeps you eager to follow it. Well done.
Or you think I work for the Daily Bugle or something?
Oh boy, here we go.
Amazing Spider-Man 2 has a lot of gameplay mechanics. Now, many are executed very well, while others make you want to pull your hair out.
The producers advertised that Spider-Man is now only able to swing on buildings that are in range and no longer can ride the winds. This is partly true. Frickin' liars!
Yes, in the overworld, you have that limit until it's convenient for you not to. In story-based missions, you will often find that the rule is abolished. Even in wide open areas, Spider-Man will still swing on absolutely nothing. It's a bit of a false claim, and it's sometimes confusing because at times you have to guess when can he and when can't he. The 2 shoulder buttons trigger the swinging ability for each arm. It's cool for theatrics, but it is a tad unnecessary since you will swing just fine with one of them.
Swinging around isn't too much trouble, it just takes some practice. The thing is, the camera is really focused on the player and it spends a lot of time making the jumps look really extravagant.
You should be able to get good momentum with enough practice. This next part is the kicker, and it sucks. A key feature that is used to get around as well as swinging is the web zip. You use this ability by pressing and or holding the R1, aka the right button.
The problem with this ability is that it's ass.
The network know you got a potty mouth?
I'll try to explain this. First off, you better get real good at learning how it works and adapting to its crap factor. Of course, it's limited to ranged buildings and obstacles like swinging, so it won't always work when you press it. And that's the problem when you begin to wonder if it's the game's fault or if it's your controller. How it works is that if you hold the button down, you will go into this slow motion state, assuming it doesn't give out, which it has done on me sometimes. While in slow-mo, you can see landing areas Spider-Man can zip jump to. By guiding the cursor and aligning it with one of the glowing silhouettes, Spider-Man makes like a bolt and zips over to the goal. It sounds simple enough, but by holding the button down, you interrupt the flow of the gameplay by trying to find and manage where the available glowing spots are, and that you will fly to, and then end up hoping to God it doesn't mess up in between.
By tapping the button, Spider-Man will randomly zipline to an area that he may be facing. And again, only if able. Otherwise, he'll do nothing.
This is barely a better option because if there are a lot of glowing silhouettes, he will randomly pick one, or half the time end up flying somewhere completely opposite of where you wanted to go. I've lost quite a few events simply because I zip jumped so far out of the left field trying to go where I wanted. There are areas where it can be reliable, but usually during the game you are in a hurry because of the mission and or story conditions, so taking your time and focusing on something is not entirely an option. That's enough on swinging.
While in the overworld, or New York, you will probably notice a lot of icons on your world map below, showing you that you can do a lot of things at each one.
Each icon will represent an obvious quick mission hazard or side quest. Some involve swinging to a location and taking pictures of crime scenes or police computers. Others will involve crime or potential hazards for you to rectify, such as bomb disposal, buildings on fire, breaking and entering, and gun battles. Completing these earn you points and level up your costume. They also fill up your hero meter. What does the hero meter do? As far as we know, not a damn thing. By letting it deplete and go into the menace territory, the only notable thing we saw that it does is make the New Yorkers funny when they madmouth you. It may also trigger some flying drones to attack you, but this was so late in the game that I think it was going to happen anyway.
By tapping triangle or Y near a wall, you'll be able to grab onto it and start crawling. But it's not without its flaws.
Sometimes while crawling on areas like a burning building, you may desperately try to crawl into a window to rescue civilians. Unfortunately, for some odd reason, it's impossible. There do exist annoying features like this that beg the question, why? Forcing you to get back on the floor and use the zipline button, hoping you go into the right window you want. While crawling on open areas, holding down the L2 or left trigger will have Spider-Man sprint up the walls, which we fancy because it's a fast way to move about.
While you're out and about, you can drop into various locations, such as Stan Lee's comic book shop, where you can view and read comic books, look at exciting action figures, and even jump into an interactive arcade simulator.
While swinging around Manhattan, you can look for 300 comic book pages scattered around. A small chime sound will let you know when you're near one. There shouldn't be too hard to find. Occasionally you will find purple icons on the map taking you to underground stealth areas where you can potentially unlock new costumes. They are optional, but why would you want to pass them up?
Taking the train back to Peter Parker's house, you can switch into different Spider-Man costumes. Each of them have their own unique special abilities that will enable them to be useful in certain situations and or missions. And of course, needless to say, some of them will undoubtedly be downloadable content.
You can also check Peter's cell phone, which you can use to upgrade Spider-Man's core abilities. Strength, swinging speed, the good stuff. I'm sure you know. It also contains messages from various characters and audio clips. Jonah Jameson will often text you wanting you to take a picture of a certain location or item. You can do so at your leisure. There's no penalty really for avoiding any of these. For the most part, it's busy work to add replayability. Well, at the very least, it does its job. And now we get on to the part you have been waiting for, the combat.
The fighting portion of this game reminded us very much of the Batman Arkham series.
Rip off.
Well, hey, if you're going to imitate anyone, it might as well be something good.
Besides, we don't fault a game for taking on similar gameplay styles. That would be stupid. Plus, in this day and age, what hasn't been done before? Square or X is your main attacking button. Ramming it will keep Spider-Man in a chain of relentless combo attacks that are impactful and flashy, just like he should be. Triangle or Y acts as your dodge roll or your counter move. By timing enemy attacks in unison, Spider-Man will counter anything. A or cross is your obvious jump button, and B and circle is your web shooters. The shooters will upgrade with new abilities as the story progresses, as you'll soon find out, such as charge shots. The enemies also have different styles. There's the average thug, the heavy hitter, the armor-wearing kind, and the fast women. The fighting of swarms of enemies is mind-numbingly fun for the time, and you will be able to handle yourself. Sort of.
Yeah, this is where the combat suffers a little bit. You will, of course, face a numerous amount of enemies, and a lot of them will, of course, have hazardly weapons such as firearms.
These are the guys that you want to take down first. But there is unfortunately no effective targeting system, which means Spider-Man will target whatever the hell he wants, while you constantly fight it out and try to focus on someone else. This can and has gotten me killed quite a few times. You can use the shoulder buttons to zip and pull enemies towards you, but it's the same issue. Unless you're targeting the right guy, you might be jumping around for a few minutes avoiding enemy fire until Spider-Man targets what you want him to target.
Given the flaws of the game, it's not a very difficult one. The challenge is indeed there, but it's only just so hard that you have to plan out a few strategies here and there.
Nothing too outrageous, and while the game is still fun for a time, it can begin to get a tad repetitive the more you play. But by the time that happens, you will have beaten the story mode.
As for the music,
Barely know it's there. Next!
The visuals definitely show that there was a budget. Now, it's not bad as the Unreal Engine, which we despise, but there is some noticeable texture popping, and some weird graphical problems, aka glitches, that may occur from time to time. But overall, it's nothing too bad.
In the end, Amazing Spider-Man 2 serves to be on the average level of kind of gaming. It's definitely nothing spectacular or superior.
I get it.
Hey, kids will love it, and the Spider-Man faithful, I no doubt know, will of course enjoy it just as much as they did, with some minor frustrations on the side.
But overall, we did enjoy the game well enough to finish it. The story was fun to see with familiar characters and faces and cameos, and the combat, though flawed, was still enjoyable enough. Would this game warrant a first-day purchase or a full price? Well, offhand, I would say wait for it to come down a bit. There isn't anything screaming buy me right now, but enjoy the movie when it's released. No more, no less. It's your call.
Alright, you Marvel fanatics and you Spider-Man loyalists, you've been watching the BrotherhoodofGaming.com video game review show. I am your host, Peter Parker, aka William Morris, aka Spider-Man, aka the best man who ever lived. This is my co-host, Eugene Morris.
AKA Eddie Brock, AKA Venom, AKA the Scene Stealer, AKA... Hey, well, we're on camera, second cast, okay?
Be sure to subscribe and watch all of our other stuff and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and go to our channel, check out our videos. They're awesome, just like you guys, so you should fit right in. Until next time, keep on gaming, viewers, and always, always ignore the haters.
Change pardon. Spider-Man